Hey guys, welcome back to markdillon.com. I want to wish you all a happy holiday. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and tonight is New Year's Eve, so happy New Year. Whatever you do, I hope you have fun and I hope you do it safely. I'll be here working on my site, cooking myself dinner and having a little orange juice. So, sadly, I know a lot of you think that's a horribly boring way to spend New Year's Eve, but I couldn't think of anything more enjoyable to do. As you probably know by now, I'm really a homebody, and I enjoy a lot of time to myself or with a few friends. So, anywho, that's what I'm doing. Whatever you do, do it safely. Don't drink and drive, and look out for yourself. So, today's question is about a pretty serious topic. Some of you may have read the other day. Some of the major news outlets covered it, and a lot of the gay blogs did as well. That there was a report of a HIV transmission on a gay porn set in Las Vegas. So today's question is in regards to that. Dear Mark, happy holidays. I follow you on Twitter and love your videos. You have done a few discussing barebacking in porn. Yesterday, I saw several sites were talking about two performers who became infected while filming. I've lived through the AIDS crisis and lost too many friends. I've always used condoms, and I think they should be used in porn because of the example that it sets. It's one of the few topics you've covered where I disagree with your opinion completely. My question is, after this story, has your opinion changed, or at least do you see the validity to the other side? Um, and this is from Mike. All right, Mike. Well, first of all, let me correct you on one thing. I don't think two people were infected on set. One of them would have already had to have been positive for the transmission to occur. Um, so, where do I start? Okay, well, first of all, I see the validity to both sides, without question. What I say is I think that adults and adult performers and studios should have the right to decide which type of content they want to produce or participate in. Um, I think that first of all, grown adults, meaning the performers, have the right to do with their bodies what they choose. Second of all, when it comes to running a business, I think you have to give the consumer what the consumer wants. Now, you may have noticed over the last, say, 5 years, a great number of studios have chosen to do some bareback content or go exclusively to bareback, whether that be Helix Studios, Corbin Fisher, Sean Cody. I think there's going to be a very huge studio in the very near future that begins producing bareback content through another line, but I can't say that exactly right. I can't name that studio right now. But look, in business, you have to give the customer what the customer wants. Nobody is telling the studios who choose to use only condoms that they have to stop using them. If they're doing well, if they continue to be profitable, and their customer base enjoys that content, let them do that. But I don't think you should tie another studio's hands and prohibit them from catering to their customer. In addition to the fact, I think adults have the right to do what they want with their body as long as they're making an informed choice. So, I see the validity to both sides, no doubt about it. What I'm saying is I think studios and performers should have the right to choose. So I don't think bareback porn should be prohibited. Also, I think that very often, you can catch other STDs working with a studio that uses condoms because many of them don't test for anything. So yes, you may be protected from HIV because of condom usage, but that doesn't mean you couldn't be exposed to syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, herpes, any number of things because the studios say, well, we use condoms, so we don't have to test. So it's my argument that thorough testing is probably a better all-around protection than simply saying, well, we're using condoms, so we don't have to test for anything, particularly when you're talking about people who are very sexually active. Um, and also, let me tell you this. If you think about all the bareback porn that's been produced in the last 5 to 10 years, if there's only one instance of transmission on set, even if there's 5 or 10 or 20, that's still, statistically speaking, almost a zero risk of being exposed to HIV while you're filming a bareback scene with a studio that tests. I mean, you will occasionally hear about a plane that goes missing. That doesn't mean we stop flying, because in our minds we all say the statistical likelihood of that happening is almost zero. It's just like in the insurance business. Uh, those people understand the concept of infrequent events, and you don't dictate a policy for an entire industry based on an infrequent likelihood of something happening. I'm sorry, you just don't. I don't believe in taking one example of something bad or something that happens so infrequently that there's no real statistical chance of it happening and using that to make your argument. That's a straw man's argument. Now, I think that studios who choose to do bareback porn should absolutely be held to a very strict industry-wide standard of the type of testing they use, how good the test is good for, how long the test is good for, and that they should have to keep those records, very detailed records about all of that. I think that the onus is always on an employer to provide a safe work environment for whether they be direct employees or independent contractors. The employer is responsible for creating a safe work environment, and I think porn is no different. But you could also make the argument then that even studios who are choosing to use condoms should be required to do mandatory testing if your concern is that you have to keep the performer safe, because there are other STDs you can get. So that's my answer, Mike. My opinion has not changed. I think that it should be allowed, and I think it should be done responsibly and safely. And you also have to remember that now a lot of performers understand that there is more than one way to practice safer sex. 10 years ago, condoms were the only way to be safe. Now, with the advent of Truvada and the whole PrEP program, you have people who say, look, I can be safer, and responsible without using condoms. You have that talk with your doctor, and if you're taking Truvada and you take it correctly, I mean, that's very important. You're very likely to be protected even if you encounter someone who's HIV positive. And then you also have to remember that most of the new data shows that somebody who's HIV positive and who's taking their medicines correctly and their viral load is undetectable also has almost a zero risk of transmitting it. So, there's so many variables on this. I don't think that you can make a straw man's argument and say because this one particular instance happened, that somehow should dictate policy for an entire industry. And also, keep in mind, we don't know the testing procedure of the studio in question. My guess is that it probably was not a full panel test, that the RNA test, the test for the virus itself, and they test for other STDs as well. There's a great variance in the type of testing that studios use. Some of the studios use like just a very quick, rapid oral HIV test. Some of them require the full panel testing, the test for everything. I've even heard of studios who they let the model do an at-home HIV test, which is ludicrous. And you just take a picture of your result. That's insane. I think there should be a strict industry-wide standard for testing when it comes to the bareback studios. And then I also think that a lot of people, the concern is that if you have an industry-wide standard for testing, that would exclude models who are already HIV positive. My personal opinion is that they should be allowed to work with other models that models of similar statuses should be allowed to work together. I see nothing wrong with that. You'll have some people say, oh, well, there's multiple strains of HIV and all. Well, come on, listen. Do you really think that's not going on off camera anyway? I think you have to be reasonable with that. And that tends to be the biggest objection to mandatory testing, is that some people feel that it will discriminate against models who are already HIV positive. And I think that they should be allowed to continue to participate in the industry as well. So, look, Mike, you're not going to change my mind, and I'm unlikely to change your mind. You lived through something that I didn't, so your perception of this topic has been permanently shaped, and your opinion has been permanently shaped by living through the AIDS crisis and losing friends. I can't relate to that. I've had good friends become HIV positive, and that's heartbreaking. But they live perfectly, healthy lives. They take their medicines, and you never know. You saw a different side to this, so we'll just say that reasonable minds can agree to disagree. Mike, thank you for watching, and I wish you a happy New Year. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and I wish you all a happy New Year. Don't forget to check out markdillon.com. Y'all have a great New Year.